Sean Salisbury's back on the morning roast. What's up, man?
What's happening, guys? Good to be on with you, man. I appreciate it. It's that time, man. I love it.
Oh, man, we all love it.
Let me start right here, Sean, because we were having this kind of like a question we were asking out loud regarding, the current model of how practices are, the CBA, all of that stuff, injuries, right? The Niners right now have a ton of hamstring, soft tissue, whatever you want to call them, injuries. What's your belief? What is your belief that you need to build up the callus with more hitting and actually play football, tackling all the way to the ground to prepare for the season, or this is the best we're going to do based on the science, and this is the way it's going to be, and this is the way it should be in terms of light hitting, not taking someone all the way down to the ground? What's your philosophy on that?
Well, we've changed over the years because of roster money and guaranteed money and meeting starters. I've kind of evolved too. It used to be where you'd practice 2 days in a row, 2.5 hours, bringing people down, and knocking them around. I think you have to hit. Now that doesn't mean all the time, guys. You got to learn. And I know this is maybe we don't talk about it enough, but I know at camps I teach at, or when you talk to people that are involved or coaching it, like during the off season, you got to learn how to practice. You've got to learn how to be full speed, go as hard as you can, but play smart at the end. And that's a hard thing to do. Like, suspend yourself as the Matrix in midair and not hit somebody. But you still got to be physical because, listen, I don't know many teams that go into a season that finesse themselves to death and end up winning championships. Now, Bill Walsh started it, and a lot of guys carried it on, the Marv Levy's and Denny Green, who was with us in Minnesota. You start to get to a point where you taper off as the season goes on. You don't need to be wearing pads and beating on each other in November. I need fresh legs. In camp, though, for me, real quick, guys, is one thing about these injuries, you can't simulate it, guys. Yeah. When people say, well, don't hit at all, guys are still going to get hammies when they make cuts out of the breaking shorts and a T-shirt. Guys are still going to get dinged up, but you've got to learn how to practice. I'm not a believer in bringing somebody to the ground. What good is it going to do? Now, wrapping up and holding, when you get a guy, you tackle a guy, Derrick Henry runs through, and you grab him and hold him, sure, wrap up. I don't need to bring guys to the ground. Every now and again it's going to happen, but I want to practice smart. There's got to be drills. You have to have physicality. But the most important thing is making sure you know who to get and how to get them. And if you don't practice it, you'll be behind. So I know it's not the full answer we want to hear, but you can't go 2 a day, 3 hours a day, because eventually you won't have enough bodies to line up and it actually really does matter. So the mental part, guys got to learn how to stay focused and go 100 miles an hour without bringing people to the ground. And it is an art on teaching them how to practice.
Well, Sean, it is wild to hear you say that, because I feel like tackling in the first month of the season over the last 5, 6, 7 years is awful. It's atrocious. Guys are not wrapping up because of the lack of tackling in practice. But you brought up injuries, and you can't simulate that. These teams are spending more and more money on training staffs, doctors, or whatnot. There's no way to prevent this stuff. Days off, days on. Guy wakes up out of bed. He may feel sore. There's no way to prevent this stuff. Injuries are going to happen.
Of course, and when you're, on one-on-one drill, when a left tackle's blocking a rush in, a guy may step too quick and step out and get beat underneath on a dip and grab him and gets caught for holding, and he hurts his shoulder or his fingers a little bit. A receiver, listen, you could train all you want in the off-season. There's a different intensity when you're playing against the fellas, and it just is. So you come out of a dig route, and you, boom, put your foot in the ground, and you come out precise and dynamic, and boom, a little twinge in the hammy. Whether you're in gear, whether you're in shorts, it is going to happen. That's why the depth of a team with a 5th-round pick has to be good. That's why when we talk about, that guy's a 6th-round pick, those are the times that's who preseason's for. Preseason is not for Trent Williams. Preseason is not, in my opinion, for getting Deebo Samuel 47 touches. Preseason is to get guys who are bubble players, who have a new coaching staff, to get them work. So mentally we know that we can trust them to line up, but physically they know how to get to the spot. There's going to be mistakes. This is the way it's always going to be now. And we're not going to start practicing more, guys. You know that. The next time in 10 years the CBA comes around, we're going to practice less.
Wow.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And you're going to preserve your starters. If I'm a coach, for instance, in Indianapolis, Jonathan Taylor wouldn't see a snap. I wouldn't give Deebo much. I don't need to. They're going to be fine.
Right.
And that's when the depth of a roster and a general manager and a draft come into play. those guys have to know how to rear their head when pressure's on.
Yeah, we got the football hour guy, Sean Salisbury, him and Lowe coming back on Mondays, 6 o'clock, talking with us right now on the Morning Roast. Sean, Trey Lance. I mean, we have like a running joke now. Me and Steven started it a couple weeks ago. Trey Lance, your thoughts? So, Trey Lance, your thoughts?
Listen. I'm not putting anybody in a Hall of Fame after Kenny Pickett or Trey Lance, and I'm sure as hell not all of a sudden. And I know he's got a lot of issues going on off the field. That 1 of 5 and looked like he didn't belong to Deshaun Watson. When he's ready to play, he's going to be a good player. Okay, those are things I do know. But you know what? All of you judges when a guy's in there doing it, and the things I'm looking for, guys. I'm usually not a big stats guy in preseason. I'm looking to how you got there. Because we all know somebody will throw a ball up late in the game in the fourth quarter. Some dude makes a great catch. When you know as a quarterback, I've done it in the preseason. Well, you shouldn't have thrown it there. The guy goes up and catches it with 3 dudes and comes down and it's a 70-yard game. So you look at the stats and they say, 70-yard completion. Yeah, when you go watch film with the coach, it's like, dude, did you see that check down in front of you that would have run for 30 yards? So you know, right? And the players know. But listen, I thought his pocket presence was aware. So for me, I'm looking at stuff like off-the-ball players and with the quarterback, decisions you make. Now, his timing will continue to get better, and he'll see things more urgently, and his eyes will move quicker. What you're trying to do is get a guy to speed his legs up and slow his mind down, but move those eyes and get through progressions. But a great play on third down to hit the big play, the home run, to protect the football, to make some throws, to evade the pocket and get up and get down after he made the run. So I was actually impressed with his game. And what this does, it's not the stats I care about because this is going to have no bearing on the opening game in September. But what it does, it starts to believe trust because he's had an up-and-down camp statistically. But what it does, you haven't seen him waffle in practice, and you're not going to see him waffle in the game. I never want to coach the big play out of him, but I want to make sure he understands that those simple plays are going to sustain him. So I thought he performed well in a short stint. And he'll get a little bit longer stint, I would imagine, in game 2, and then cut it back a little bit. I don't need to see a lot. I just need to, when I do see it, that the decisions are there. As long as I know his head, meaning his decisions are in the right place, the spectacular plays will come. You'll see by the end of this year, if he's making the simple play, meaning the one that you got to make on a daily and every series basis, that Trey Lance is going to come out of this thing when it's all said and done this year, as people are looking around saying, ooh, those numbers with that roster look pretty good. This guy is a sneaky, big, when I say sneaky, we're going to hear all the big names for player of the year and offensive player of the year. If things are working and his ability shines, don't be surprised if you see things that maybe you haven't seen on spectacular plays the last 2 or 3 years.
Whoo, I love hearing that. Sean Salisbury, the Sean Salisbury Show, Sports Talk 790 down in Houston, Texas, former quarterback, of course, in the NFL, a USC Trojan. And look, you were talking about practice in preseason game number 2. We're not sure how much Trey will play in game 2 of this preseason game against Minnesota, but they are having the joint practices. And Shasky and I have been talking about this for years about what if they just cut back the preseason games and just have more scrimmages? We see teams do this all the time. Where do you stand on that? Because Belichick had a quote today saying he can get more out of joint practices and simulate more game situations in joint practices as opposed to preseason games where those situations may not come up. Where do you stand on that?
As our guy Low Neal would say.
As Low Neal would say nothing because Sean Salisbury phone just clunked out on us. Let's get Sean back on the line and get that answer from him. But Trey Lance, I'm seeing SportsCenter all the time now. Trey Lance is like a top 3 story when it comes to NFL topics.
Because he's the quarterback of the Niners.
Look at you. I knew you were going to say that.
So now you're subscribing to my opinions.
No, I'm not. I just wanted to hear you say that. That's how I know I'm back home.
He's not the 11th man on the Kings. He's not the 5th outfielder for the Marlins. He is the quarterback of the Niners.
Oh, man. Let's get back to Sean. He's back on the line. Sean, as Low Neal would say, what?
I'm saying that we're in the same church view and in the same church as Low Neal would say. I'm with you 100%. If I had it my way, which I don't, and I don't have any pull, I'd get rid of all I'd do what college does, but I'd add this element. I'd be ready to roll in the regular season. No college. I wouldn't do any preseason games and risk like what the Jets are going through with Zach Wilson. I know people want them and that they're not going away because of money and all that. But for me, the best, I'm telling you, the best practices we ever had when I played were joint practices. Yet you knew how to control them. You could say, okay, this is the blitz pickup drill. Full speed, don't hit the quarterback, but now we're going full speed. Then there's the 9-on-7 run drill. All those things, I am with you. The intensity, you're tired of beating on your own team. You can blow that whistle when a guy breaks out of the pocket. Don't you think the Jets would have loved a whistle with?
Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah,
yep.
He's run for 7 yards. You could have blown the whistle once he crossed the line of scrimmage, and bingo, we're now moving on. Yes, to me, the best practices are joint practices. I don't know why everybody doesn't do 3 or 4 of those with teams throughout the preseason. And then I would go to the regular season. I'm not a big preseason guy. I know it's for fans and to find that one bubble guy. I find more out about a player on the practice field, and if I can do it against somebody else, I found out even more. I like the intensity. I like those far more than preseason games.
All right, Sean, before you get on out of here, Sean Salisbury talking with him and Lowe coming back for the football hour after the first week in the NFL season, first week in September. No one can wait. He's also going to be a contributor here at 95.7 The Game all year. Madden came out last night for early release, the Madden video game. Sean, did you ever play as yourself? Are you a gamer? Do you still play Madden? Do the kids play Madden at your house?
Now, well, first off, I don't even know. I'm not even going to ask what my point total was because I may have been non-existent, number one.
Oh, the rating?
I've had buddies of mine say, Sean, you were huge for me in Techno Bowl. I said, right on, brother. So you're aging us a little bit, too. You know what? I hate this. I'm not a big gamer. My kids, obviously, had all the systems, and they are great at it. I played football probably 5 times. I loved the baseball. I was big into the hockey and the FIFA part of it. But I didn't want to because I said, I don't want to throw a pick here. I did enough of that when I played. There's so many, I didn't play. Now, I love watching my sons who got into it, and I actually do teach off it. I got young quarterback coverages. If they're having trouble, we'll put coverages up, and they'll understand because they can see movement on it. It's really good for teaching kids how to read coverage.
Wow.
I love the video game. It's phenomenal. I just don't play it. I play other sports when I did. I haven't played a video game in 10 years, so for me, I didn't. And real quick, I remember talking to Tony Gwynn, God rest his soul. I was hosting Up Close for about 10 days. Tony Gwynn came on, and I asked him, I said, do you play video games? He goes, I do. I said, baseball? He goes, yes, I do. He goes, I just never play myself. And I said, why? He said, because what they're doing there, I don't want it to affect me. This was when he was a current player. I don't want it to affect my hitting. And I found it odd. Then I thought, well, that's why he's one of the greatest hitters of all time. The little things like that, and I would imagine some of these great players feel the same way.
Well, unless you're Kyler.
I'll throw some touchdown passes for you in Techno Bowl.
Yeah.
I ain't doing a squat for you in Madden, brother. Sorry.
All right, well, here you go. 1992 Madden ratings for quarterbacks.
Oh, my gosh.
The number one rated.
You're going to ruin my day?
Yeah, the number one rated quarterback, Steve Young, the MVP of the league. He was at 92. Number 2, Troy Aikman. All the way down at the bottom, number 67.
Oh.
You had a 67 overall rating for the Minnesota Vikings, Sean Salisbury.
Well, here's what I do know. That there was other quarterbacks that weren't on there, so screw them.
Thanks for being a good sport.
That's good stuff right there.
A good sport.
Disrespectful to the former.
Is there a Madden rating for the CFL when we won the Grey Cup? Can I squander it some way? I'll take it. And you know what? That's exactly where I should have been at that point in time.
Oh,
you're higher than Dan McGuire, who was a 52.
Yeah, there you go. And Dan McGuire. Yeah. There you go. San Diego State Aztecs. Screw San Diego State.
Oh,
I love it. I love it.
Oh, Sean, you're a good sport, man. We can't wait to talk to you soon, man.
You guys are awesome, man. Thank you.
Anytime, Sean Salisbury, man.
Hey.
There on the Morning Roast.